You want to advance your own slides, or do you want me to do this?
If I can.
Yeah, just use the arrow keys or space bar or something. I've got a remote mouse. It's it needs to be done.
I'll give you a signal. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I twice with my phone for my first meeting. It'll be good.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, Rotarians. Let's start by standing and we'll begin with our invocation. Lyle, if you would please.
Good morning. We hear a lot in the news these days about diversity, and one aspect of diversity is neurodiversity. It's about how our brains are wired differently and how that influences how we see and interact with our world. Today's invocation acknowledges both the successes and the struggles of one type of neurodiverse group in our community, and that is people with autism. Let us pray. Loving God, bless today in special ways all the children, adults, and families who see the world through the window of autism. May your spirit burn bright in them, and all who celebrate and honor the richness of our diversity during this Autism Acceptance Month of April. Grant us, O Lord, the wisdom to see your image reflected in all of our differences and to recognize the unique gifts we each have to offer. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Lyle. And Steve Schmidt, if you'd lead us, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, this is great. We have a couple of announcements today, so make yourselves comfy. We've got a few things to talk about, and the first one is, I'm trying to think, John, Susie, I believe you're gonna go first for us on the program update. Yay.
Sure. Thank you, everyone. I just did the math in my own simple mind, and we are exactly 40 days away from Pro-Am Day. So we're still in need of some sponsors. There's some flyers on the table. You can email me with any interest that you and or your colleagues at work or friends. There's also a flyer about coming to the event for outside people. That price of $60 gets them food and drink and a pass to the golf course that day. It's always been a great day for fellowship as well as a good time to see some celebrities on the course. And what we really need is your support. Everyone's going to be invoiced for 2 tickets, and we would like your attendance. But if you have a friend or a family member that would like to go instead, feel free. We will be putting out a list of duties for the day. We don't need tons and tons of people, but we're going to need drivers to take people back and forth from Grizel Middle School to the house, as well as people helping with registration. But the best thing about it is it's a great fellowship opportunity. So looking forward to seeing you all there 40 days from today.
Thank you, John. That's great. It's one of our most fun fundraisers. Claudia, if you would come up. Claudia has been working with the city on the community day for quite some time, and you have those.
Community day, I don't know. Community Day is May 4th, which is 2 weeks. And we are doing a project for the city. They've asked us to do a project specifically to help them. This one is huge, but it's really cool because it is not labor intensive. No tools required, no digging like we did last year, no planting, no mulching, no weeding, nothing like that. If you can walk, you can do this. We're going to be meeting at the rec center at 8:30 and go through a brief training to help the assessment management of bike paths. So we have 150 miles of bike paths in Dublin. Did anybody else know that? I didn't know that. I knew it.
I-
Andy. Did you know that? Anyway, here's the deal. We're gonna meet at the rec center and go through training. You need a cell phone that can put an app on it. The app is specifically so you can take photos of where the bike path is breaking because of tree roots, right? Right?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
And then it gets sent back to asset management and HQ. And from there, they take it so that they can fix these things. And supposedly it's not going to damage the tree. And it's a new technology that they're going to use for fixing bike paths. So we meet there, then we get deployed. We're also, so you
So we
may,
don't have to dig up the trees.
no, you don't have to, you can hug it, you can hug the tree. But tell it everything's gonna be okay. From the rec center, we'll be deployed to different areas, teams of 2 to 4 people. And then you take your things, it's all over at 11:30, hard stop, because they don't want us there anymore. They want to go home. If we don't finish, that's okay, they've got other people coming out to do it later. The little twist to this is we've invited all of our interactors, 14 years and up, to join us. Many of them will not be driving because they're 14 or 15 and can't drive. So if you are able to take a couple kids, we checked with the school system, they're fine with us taking kids because it's not a school activity. Right? Dr. Marshall? Okay. It's volunteering with us, so it's not a school activity, we don't need permission slips or anything, just take them to the place and back to the rec center. That's gonna be all over Dublin, so we don't know where the place is gonna be, so it should be exciting, it should be fun, it'll be a beautiful day, I promise it's gonna be 78 degrees and sunny, as opposed to some of the snowy ones we've done.
Promises,
I
promises, promises.
I sent out the invite for volunteers again this morning. So don't need to sign up here, please look at your email, sign up, let me know if you can drive a kid or can't drive a kid. Also on May 4th, Michael Darling, you have something going on, don't you?
Yes,
You want to talk? You
Sure.
sure?
we have, it's called Sustainable Saturday, so we have combined all of our events like the HHW and paints and fluorescent bulbs and pesticides, herbicides, stuff like that, with document shredding. And there's also, Goodwill drop off, so if you have old clothes or old appliances or, like small appliances that need a home that you don't want anymore, bring them out that day. Also, let's see what else, e-waste, electronics, styrofoam, basically recycling and get rid of everything you have day that you want to get rid of day. It's out at the service center. It starts at 8 AM, ends at 2 PM. We've never done an event quite this big before, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So-
Michael, I saw the preparations for that document shredding going on. Oh my God, you guys are gonna do a lot of stuff that day.
Yep, and the document sharing will happen on site, so.
So May 4th, Sustainability Day for the city, happening at the same time as our community services, and Kent has an announcement as well.
Yeah, just real quick, next Friday morning, we're gonna have a new member meeting. I think Dr. Guard's part of that, our new member committee. So 7 o'clock here, bring your checklist. If you don't, I'll have extras and I'll be sending emails out. So that's it. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And Luke has a quick announcement
Yes.
also about May 4th.
May 4th, also, after you serve and donate, you will get the party. So the Derby party is actually on May 4th as well. You've got an invitation to do that. We'll be eating southern food and drinking mint juleps, and I think there's a little side gambling that's gonna go on as well, so that's going on May 4th as well.
Great. Let me just give you a quick update on 3 meetings. I see Kurt's on Zoom here. Kurt and I will be asking for all of you to make sure you're here next week. We've got a really good meeting planned, workshopping all of our survey results. So looking forward to hearing all of our members' voices, happy smiling faces, talking a little bit about what we've all talked about on the survey and what else we'd like to talk about with that. Our May 17th meeting is going to be starting, past presidents, going to be starting half an hour early, or not half an hour, 15 minutes early. Paige and his committee have done a great job, and so past President's Day meeting will be May 17th. And on June 21st is our field trip day every year, when they have member guests here at the clubhouse, and we have thanks to Jean and the committee, we've gotten something nicely lined up with Citizen U and the NRAC Center. So we'll be over at the Justice Center, and you'll see lots of emails about that between now and June 21st. So thank you all very much for the large number of announcements, and we're going to bring up our special sergeant, as always. Welcome.
Hey, I was just gonna quickly thank everybody for the donations to Wins for Women. We collected over 24,000 items between all the clubs in the district, so that was a big win. And the district conference was a lot of fun too. That's
Tell me about Guatemala,
well, Guatemala, what about Guatemala?
the meals we made.
We assembled 22,000 ready-to-eat bagged meals as part of the conference, so that was really a lot of fun. That took us about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So,
Excellent.
thank you.
Well, thank you. And Susan. Suzanne.
I explained to you, I'm a point, so I'm actually inviting award-winning point called the Diana Grant to come here for workshops. She teaches workshops on how to write the poetry. She also have advanced workshops for the poets themselves.
When's that happening?
I invite her to come in Dublin, in May, but I need to find the people who will attend her.
Suzanne
And
is
she
looking
wrote
for
eight
members.
books, and she has won numerous awards. And
Oh,
she teach at the college.
Excellent. Suzanne, can people talk to you about it after the meeting if they're interested? So interested in meeting with a Chinese poetry scholar?
Diana Grant. She is a marathon poet, and she teach poetry writing at the, I don't know, what's
Okay.
San Francisco University.
Right. Well, if you're interested in the poetry opportunity, please see Susanna. That's great. With that, Mr. Bentz.
I am. Good morning, everybody. Good to be back up here as sergeant. It's been a while. I don't think do we have any guests here? We didn't have any on the list, but I want to make sure. Are there any guests we need to introduce this one? No. Okay. Well, this morning we are going to do Happy Box, and I know Ingrid is just chomping at the bit to get us started. So
I'm going to give the first happy bug because today's the last time that we're in the room. And I wanted to show our appreciation to Deb and to Patsy. They've kept us here running in this facility, and with all of their support, it'll be seamless as we move back into some of the other rooms that club. So thank you for support.
thank you. All right. Other Happy Box. Paige.
I have one of 103. My mother's birthday is today, her 103rd birthday. Only 103. We're on our way to 104 after that.
Fantastic.
I've got one because I failed to mention the great job that Claudia did last Wednesday by boosting this to the club, the Pro-Am event. And Claudia, you've always done great work with that. Social media, you check our site on our page on social media, it's boosted there as well. But spread the word to your friends. It's a great time, and Claudia, thank you again.
Other happy bucks. Tom,
Next Thursday, my grandson, who is a senior at Miami University, will be inducted into Phi Beta Kappa. His mother, our late daughter, was a Phi Beta Kappa from Center College in Kentucky. So we're going down to Miami next week, witness that great event. And I understand genetically, the smarts of those kids come from the mother.
who's next? Steve,
I haven't done this yet, but with our new speed cameras in Dublin, thinking about taking my nephew's BMW that I'm taking care of for 2 years and going down about 600 miles an hour. At least gonna send a letter to him, to Moscow.
that would be a fun experiment. Yeah. I'd rather do it in your vet though. Any other happy bucks this morning? Claudia? No, you, oh, well, then you're gonna give $1 anyway, just for raising your hand.
For nice weather.
We're incredibly grateful and thankful that we broke ground yesterday on the 15th elementary school. And we are on schedule for that to open in August of 2025. So just happy to share the news.
That's awesome. Gene?
So I had dinner with my daughter who was married over a year ago, a couple days ago. And I could tell by the questions she was asking, and she had just a certain glow on her face. And finally I said, so how pregnant do you have to be before you're gonna tell me? And she said, well, we were hoping to tell you together, but since you knew.
Any other happy bucks this morning? Going once? Going twice? I'm gonna read something. This hangs on my shrink's wall. No offense, Dr. McGlashan, but it always makes me happy when I read it. So I'm just gonna read this real quick. May your days be filled with sunshine and your nights with bright stars. May there be peace in your world and love in your heart. May you always have faith to calm your fears and the courage to face them. May you always have joy to share and happiness to fill your soul. That's my happy buck. All right, and our pot today, we got a small pot of $20 and the large is huge, it's $6.15. So whoever we draw first gets to choose whether they want the small or a chance at the large. And I'll let you draw a ticket.
Oh, okay.
All right, first winner, 418-453. 418-453, going once. Going twice.
453.
Yeah.
You went again, the rich would have.
No, you got it, Rich? All right. Small or large, Rich? Okay, so Rich is gonna go for the large. We'll do that in just a second. We're gonna draw one more ticket for the small pot.
I'll mix it up this time.
I pre-mixed it.
Oh, okay, no, it's very nice.
Now it's really. All right, number 2, 418-409. All right, we got a $20 winner here.
I trust.
Okay. All right, come on back up. I'll take my money and run.
Great, thanks. Doesn't it feel good to do happy bucks on a nice sunny day? With that, no further ado, we will be bringing up JM. I am pleased to say that we met at a City of Dublin event, and JM just radiated excitement about what's coming up with the City of Dublin and the possibilities. So JM is our City of Dublin manager of mobility and transportation planning for the city. And I will ask him to come up talking about connected, sustainable, and resilient global city of choice is his goal for all of our work with City of Dublin. JM, thank you for being here. We're thrilled to pull you up earlier on the schedule than we thought possible. We appreciate Calvin and Jean's help in making that all work with you. And thank you again.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for hosting me today. Very excited to talk about transportation mobility, as Ingrid mentioned. You're in a very good place right now as it relates to transportation mobility. Dublin is doing a lot of things that's very exciting. Let me pull up my presentation. That would be really helpful.
If you just alt tab, it's already up.
Alt tab, okay.
There you go. Oh, but shoot. One second.
Please hold. I don't think this is the one.
That's wrong. This is the-
Gonna have to add the to the-
To 2020.
Yeah.
So as we're getting everything set up, transportation mobility is fun to talk about, but I don't know if you know this, it's extremely emotional. If you have a bad commute to work, it usually can ruin your morning, and other things like that. So making sure that we can help people get from point A to point B as safely, quickly, and efficiently is something that we like to do in Dublin. And we do that in many different ways and different modes.
Which one?
That one. So we'll jump right in. Councilmember Kaler may know this one, but we have a vision that council has put before us, and that is to be the most connected, resilient, sustainable global city of choice. Everything we do has to be tethered to that goal. And so what I'll walk through is how we meet that vision through our projects. In the Division of Transportation and Mobility, we do have 6 areas that we focus on primarily. Going from 12 o'clock to the top, traffic operations. So if you ever have complaints about timing, we're the division that helps with that in terms of traffic lights and other things of that nature. Going to the right clockwise, mobility, everything from walking and rolling and how you do that in Dublin, whether it's on a bike, scooter, or other mobility device. Wayfinding, that is helping you get where you want to go in the city. The best way I can describe it is like when you go to the mall, people still go to the mall, and you go to like that big directory. It's basically how do we help people get to where they want to go without thinking too much about it. Connected Dublin is below that. What you see there is a drone. I don't know if you can see it too well, but there's a drone, and I was gonna try to minimize that. And a car. So it's all about our infrastructure and vehicles that can talk to each other in the Internet of Things realm. So we've been working on projects with community partners, regional partners on how we can advance some of the emerging technology that we're learning about as relates to all things connected. Continuing on, we have crash analysis. So you mentioned the speed cameras, Steve. Let's not abuse them, but they are there for a reason. We have a very robust speed management program, which I will not touch on a lot, but happy to take questions on it later on. And then finally, help with development review. So I'm the person that goes to developers, or if there's proposal, be like, where are the bike racks? Where's the shared use path connection? Where's the sidewalk? Things of that nature. We recently completed a greenhouse gas inventory, which is really important as we want to be the most connected, resilient, sustainable global city of choice. Transportation usage, maybe no surprise, that's where a lot of our emissions come from in terms of the community snapshot. So if we can make an impact on transportation, making it less polluting, it will have a big impact now and in the future. And that's what it looks like as a per capita basis. So transportation is definitely an area that we can focus on and hopefully get some early wins and make a difference. Part of that is looking at electric vehicles. So you'll probably hear a lot that electric vehicles are in the news. There's a lot of money out there, which is why we're pursuing federal and state money to build out our infrastructure as it relates to electric vehicles. This on the screen is showing you the accumulation of how much gas or emissions that we've been able to prevent by using EVs in our community. The way we do that is there are 89 electric vehicle charging stations in the city of Dublin. 21 of them are maintained by the city, and we're able to track the usage of that and do different algorithms to understand how much gas is being saved and things of that nature. So this has a lot on the screen, but I'll walk through it. On the left are the existing 89 stations that I mentioned as it relates to electric vehicle charging. You may know this, but there are 3 different levels of charging infrastructure. Level 1 is something you can plug into your outlet and it will charge your car in maybe 40 hours if it was completely empty. Level 2 is something you might see more often, particularly with fleets. It will charge your car in about 4 to 6 hours. And it's a little bit more juice, so to speak. It's more like a clothes dryer outlet, if you will, that kind of energy. And then DC fast charging, that is the very fast, very expensive way to charge your car in about 20 to 40 minutes, but you may see more at gas stations. As it relates, Dublin has the largest, when I say fleet, I mean the community, how many registered vehicles are in the community of Dublin. We have, after Columbus, the largest community fleet in Central Ohio. And we have 1,000 EVs that are registered according to the state of Ohio in Dublin. And about 2.65% of that are electric vehicles. But when we look at the adoption rate, that's how many new cars are being bought that are EVs. So in Dublin, we are a little bit more affluent and we also turn our cars over than the rest of the state a lot faster. So we anticipate EV adoption coming a lot quicker than the rest of the state in Dublin. So in the next 5 years, we need to figure out how to meet the demand that we anticipate with the forecasting. But you can see other areas that New Upper Arlington, New Albany, those are other cities that have high adoption rates, but their fleets are much larger or much smaller than ours. So that's something to take into account. So I put a little arrow. We're at 89 today. We have to get to 588 by 2030, according to the forecasting of about 40% of our fleet to be EVs in the next 5 years, 4 to 5 years. At least that's what the data is telling us. So that means that what we have to do is of the 588, 559 have to be level 2. So those are the ones a little bit more cheaper, but the ones that are really expensive, the 29s, those are the ones that you see at the Darby lot. We need at least 29 of those to meet the demand, or at least what we anticipate. It's important to note that we expect 80% of charging to happen at homes. So it's really that 20% that we're trying to capture, or those who commute to Dublin from outside that maybe don't have charging at their house or condo or apartment. As we look at where we're going to put these, there's a lot that has potential to be on public land, but honestly, only 30% of that 508 number we anticipate being on public land, like parks or city-owned parcels. The rest of it will probably be on private property, but are publicly accessible. So think of Avery Nearfield area, think of the Kroger retail strips, things of that nature. So you can see this is where we're beginning to put all of the EVs, or at least figure out where we can start placing them and work with partners. And by the way, we'll have questions at the end, so I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of questions as we get through this. This is extremely expensive. So this is estimate of you can not see it, but it's gonna be about $8 million to build those 588 charging stations. So that's why we're pursuing grants as well as working with private developers in order to foot that bill and make sure that the taxpayers are not paying for all that. If you think about it, gas stations are mostly privately owned. So we're hoping that this will be almost like seed money to help the industry get off, and then other private developers will take on the reins of investing in electric vehicle charging stations. Other things that we're doing to help on the city level is we have electric vehicles, but we are investing in e-bikes for staff to use between buildings. and doing inspections on shared use paths, which we mentioned earlier. So this is a great way to do those inspections and get to the city buildings without using a car. But also, I don't think you want to be on a shared use path and having it be inspected with a vehicle that is taking up the whole shared use path. So this is also more thoughtful for those who are using the shared use path as we're doing inspections and things of that nature. So on the left, you'll see the Dublin police have 2 e-bikes. So they're going to be using those at events and things of that nature. We purchased 4 on the right for staff to use, and I'm hoping to purchase more this year to make sure that all the buildings have e-bikes that want them. These are very nice. They come with a cup holder and a cell phone holder and saddlebags. So it's really like, how do we make this as convenient as possible to people to get on a bike, right? And so like, I can do this instead of driving, I'll just throw my laptop in a saddlebag and go to that building kind of thing. And they are being used. The way we track it is you just reserve an Outlook as a conference room, and I can track how it's being used from that angle. We are the first and only silver level bicycle friendly community in the state of Ohio. We got that designation 2 years ago from a very grueling 80-page application I put together. Very proud to have done that. And now we're going to go for gold in 2 years. But this is a snapshot to show you how many, that 150 miles of shared use path and how that all, you can't really see the numbers, but at the very top for the League of American Bicyclists, that's the organization that designates communities as bicycle friendly. They wanted to see how many shared use paths we have and what type. So there's a difference between a shared use path that's separated from the roadway and maybe like a bike lane that's in the roadway in terms of comfort and safety. So we get graded differently on different types of facilities that we have. And then you'll see that bottom here. That's the typical miles per hour, the speed limits on each roadway. So going from the one on the left, that's 25 miles per hour. Most of our city are residential streets. I don't know if you really think of it like that, but most of them are low speed, low volume. It's not until you get to the arterials and some of the collector streets where there's higher volumes of traffic and higher speeds of traffic. So that was easy. That was really important to show that most of our community is accessible and comfortable. We talked about speed earlier. You may have known this, but we lowered the speed on Riverside Drive. I hope everyone's okay with that, but please drive slower. The whole point of this was we wanted to lower speed limits to complement the development that's happening there. So land use and transportation go hand in hand together. You really need to make sure that the context of development you have matches the transportation you have. So if we have a very suburban thoroughfare going through an urban district, it's not a good match. So we have to lower the speed limits and also maybe do some modifications to the roadway to make it more pedestrian friendly to react to the context that the street's in. So in Bridge Park Avenue with Riverside Drive, it got to a point where the development was needing the speed limits and the changes of the roadway to happen. So we had to do this by creating a business district because the state of Ohio has special rules and speed limits. And by creating the local business district, we're able to have local control over state routes and setting speed limits. So right now, Riverside's the only one that is lowered, but as development continues to happen in Bridge Park and other developments happen that are more mixed use and walkable, we want to lower the streets where that happens and make sure that is complementary to the development that's happening. I don't know if you know this, but we have an Emerald Trail as part of the Central Greenways. It was designated right before the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened, and it probably got lost in the shuffle. But the Emerald Trail starts at 161 in Sawmill, and it goes around Riverside, hugs Bridge Park, and then gets over to Brand Road eventually through Dublin Road, and it meanders all the way to Glacier Ridge Park. It's 10.5 miles. It's a nice ride. I'm working currently on special signage to put on that route to help people identify that. So Emerald Trail and help you get from point A to point B. All right, so I'm going to talk about the Dublin difference. That's what I like to call things that we offer that no other community offers, which is really exciting to talk about. So I'll talk about our Dublin Connector shuttle. You might have heard of Coda Plus. It is what we call a microtransit service. Ours is called the Dublin Connector. We're first to launch in January 2019. Coda Plus launched in June of 2019. So what is this? This is a free shuttle for people who are eligible to ride it. Right now, that includes any resident over 55 or anyone who has a disability and anyone who works in the city of Dublin, anywhere in the city of Dublin. So we are able to support our workforce getting to work, particularly if they commute by bus and they need to get to their employer. We call it the last mile, first mile connection. But we also want to support those who are aging in place and those who have accessibility barriers to help them get to where they want to go in the community. We operate Monday through Saturday, so tell your friends if they're interested, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We'll take you anywhere in Dublin, whether it's a doctor's appointment, visiting friends, volunteering, going to work, things of that nature. We're happy to do that. We are doing a study right now to understand how we can expand the service to everyone. So next year, I hope to have good news that we're able to expand this service more broadly into the community. But we have a study to provide those recommendations on how we're going to do that. So please hold on that. I mentioned the first mile, last mile. This is really important because we found out in 2019 that there are a lot of people who were commuting to Dublin by bus, and they were taking Uber or Lyft to get to work for that last mile connection. And they were spending $200 to $400 a month just on that part of their commute, which is very concerning, knowing that they're not the highest wage earners in our community. So that was an impetus for us to think about how we can support our workforce better. And this was one of the things that came out of that. So currently this year, I track all the workforce riders to see how they're supporting our community and our businesses. And these are the businesses that have employees that are using the service. And it really spans the whole spectrum of the community in terms of services and other workplaces. So I would like to continue to build that list up and support our economic development initiatives. So please, if you know anyone who is eligible, would love to share this information with them and get them on the shuttle. Next, I'll talk about CODA bus stops. Do you know how many CODA bus stops we have in Dublin? Does anyone, just real quick? We have 47, but one has a shelter. Only one. I don't think that's okay. So in terms of human dignity and things like that, no one wants to wait in the rain or snow to take a bus. So we were looking at ways to make it more comfortable for people that have to take the bus, or maybe are interested in taking the bus, or maybe don't have a car, like we mentioned earlier with some of the younger volunteers. So we're looking at upgrading 47 bus stops to make it more attractive for people to get to work. We've seen this done in San Jose, California, and other places, particularly after the pandemic, for remote work to encourage amenities and services in cities to get people back to those workplaces so we can collect their income tax. So we're starting with 5 bus stops this year. We're working with the Public Service Committee of Council on what that will look like. So these are the first 5 that we've identified with that committee. There are mostly on Sawmill Road and one at Dale Drive and East Bridge Street /161. We're looking at we're looking at a bus stop that's not like the CODA standard. So one that is probably more modern or at least contextual to where it is going to be cited in the community. I'm very excited about this because I also consider Sawmill kind of our DMZ line with Columbus. So anything that we can show the psychological warfare of how we're above and beyond Columbus is awesome to me. I'm a Columbus resident as well, but I like to push my counterparts. Another really cool thing that we're doing with micromobility. So micromobility is an umbrella term for scooters and bikes and everything in between. We have a lot of bike racks, which we mandate scooters in certain areas of town to be parked at bike racks. We're working on a permanent program to what this looks like. A lot of other communities are backing away from micromobility, but I'm glad that we're leaning into it because I think it can be done with the right regulations and the right setup for a community. What you're looking here is where we don't have bike racks, we're looking at other ways to indicate where you should park scooters. So I found this glow paver, glow in the dark paver product that is behind the Chamber of Commerce right now. And it is there to indicate where you can park your scooter. And I think the glow in the dark element is kind of interesting. So we're piloting to see if we can use this in other parts of the city. So if you're in the Chamber of Commerce, that's what that is behind there. Another thing we're doing is installing our first e-bike charging station. So I got approval from the Architecture Review Board in February to build one in historic Dublin. So this is right behind Le Chatelaine and Starbucks at the corner of Sells Mill and I think it's Mill Lane. So this is something that it has outlets right next to bike racks. And we're hoping that will be interesting for people to try and we can continue this program on. We are working on regional trail connections, the Heritage Trail as well as the Olentangy Trail. So that is underway and we'll continue to update you on that. But I want you to know that we're actively working with our partner jurisdictions to get those trail connections outside our city. And then finally, before I get on to a few other projects, the pedestrian bridge, you can ask to have this lit for any day of observance or holiday and for free. So what you do is just go on our website, you can Google it and you can submit an application to get the bridge lit for some other day of observance or holiday or something of that sort. So I'll go through transporter projects real quick because I did get a cue that my time is going to be running up. I want to leave some time for a Q&A. So real quick, we're looking to transform how we look at transportation by flipping the priority for private autos and doing it more for vulnerable users like pedestrians and bicyclists. So we're working on that with Envision Dublin, which is a update to your community plan. It's underway. If you want information, you can talk to me or I can point in the right direction. We're looking at a change to our hierarchy for bicycles. So we're introducing this thing called a signature trail, which is almost like a highway in respect for bicycle infrastructure. And so we want this to avoid long segments of roadway, but have it along riparian corridors, prairies, parklands, things that would be a very comfortable bike ride. Think of like the Indian Run segment west of the rec center, the Red Trade View. That's a very nice bike ride, something of that sort. So we want to be an economic catalyst for Metro Center. We know that this trail will start at Doherty Fields, go through Metro Center and end at Sawmill. I don't know where, but we have a consultant that will help us with the alignment and other ways to get that done. And we want the placemaking to be the real show of this. So thinking about how we can tell the story of Dublin from the past, present, and future, taking cues from historic preservation, historic elements, but then making it fun with maybe creative sculptures that are made of flowers and things of that nature to showcase wildlife at the zoo or locally in Dublin, but also immersive art experiences on the trail in a futuristic skin to show like what the future could look like, a very Tron-esque application, if you will. So this is this will be undergoing study for the next 12 months, and then we'll provide recommendations on what that will look like finally. So I'll round up with our passenger rail initiatives and bus rapid transit, which is very exciting, I hope. We're part of a statewide passenger rail plan. With the blue line is where we would be connecting to Chicago and Pittsburgh. There are many possible stations as we look at that corridor, as well as Columbus to Cleveland and Cincinnati. So we're trying to position ourselves to get that other train station outside of downtown Columbus. To do that, we did some analysis. So we understood that the first station will go in downtown Columbus. So if there's another one to complement it, we want to see what is the 20-minute drive from each station and how many jobs and people live in that bubble of 20-minute drive. But we gave any overlap with Columbus to Columbus since they would have their first station. So what was ever left over is we think would be the second selection, and that is Dublin based on the numbers. So we're making the case in the to our regional partners that the second station should be in Dublin. So don't listen to anything about Hilliard having that station. That's just in the news. Just keep on walking. Nothing to see there. So finally, we'll talk about bus rapid transit and Link Us, and then I'll hand over to Q&A. This is very exciting. I studied abroad in Brazil in my college years, and I lived in Curitiba, where bus rapid transit was invented in the 70s as a cheap alternative to metro. I've seen this and I've used this every day when I live there. I'm very excited for our region to embrace it. We're looking at several bus rapid transit corridors from downtown going outward. We're on the Northwest Corridor, so this is what we're looking to do with Old Tangier River Road, Bethel, Sawmill, and then 161/East Bridge Street. This is an example of what it looks like in San Francisco, which just opened up their first BRT line on Van Ness Boulevard. So it would probably be very similar to what you can expect, like Old Tangier River Road and Columbus to look like this, and as far north as you can get it to Dublin. Real quick, this is what it looks like. The first phase will go from downtown to Bethel. The second phase will go from Bethel to Birch Park. And in the final phase, we still need to do more analysis. We'll go all the way to the passenger rail station that we want to build. See how it's all coming together? So this is the last slide I'm going to leave you on. As part of Link Us, you're going to be asked this November to consider a ballot initiative to support Link Us. It's really to change the funding of CODA from 0.5% sales tax to 1% sales tax, which is the maximum allowed under Ohio law. Cincinnati and Cleveland have 1% already, and they support rail and other bus rapid transit projects. We want to be there as well. Part of that is 25% of that income tax, or that sales tax, excuse me, that will be generated will go to transit supportive infrastructure. So if you don't take the bus, we still have a quarter of that money which will go towards trails, sidewalks, shelters, things of that nature. So we submitted 8 projects to our quadrant. We expect $60 million a year to be generated from this if it passes. So we'll get 15 million in our quad, if you do the simple math. But we submitted 8 projects that total almost $33 million. So we don't want to pay for this as Dublin. We want this money to be paid for out of the Link Us initiatives because it's local money with no strings attached. That's not the same as federal and state funding. So we are advocating that you encourage you to consider supporting this because it would be benefit not only to people who will take the bus, but also all the communities that will be able to fund projects with the money towards transit support infrastructure. So that's all I got. I'm so sorry if I went over, but I'd happy to take questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. Joanne, go ahead and keep that mic.
Okay,
I know I've got a question about Chicago because I would love to jump on a train and get to Chicago and be able to get back without getting in a car.
yes.
But I think we also have Paige, Barb. I know we have a person here who took the connector already, so why don't we go ahead and just take a few questions?
Okay, I saw someone. Yes, sir.
Your first slides were on EV. My question is, are the statistics that you're talking about exclusively for the cars that are solely electric vehicles, or does that include cars that are hybrid EV and gas?
Great question. It's both. So it's hybrid. It's really alternative fuels is the umbrella term they use. So that can be plug-in hybrids, could be CNG vehicles as well as electric vehicles.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes.
So on the Dublin connector, you have that on there and the two, you can notify them 2 hours. So just hypothetically, what if someone were coming to the food pantry for food and they booked it, for on a Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. I want to go to the Dublin food pantry, they booked it 2 hours ahead. Then when they are done and return, how does that work? And is that even a thing that people would come to the food pantry on their connector and then have all their groceries and then be able to go home on it?
Yes, so you absolutely can. What I would say is a best practice would be to schedule the to and return trip on the same call. So that you'd have to anticipate how long you would be there, but always err on more conservative. So maybe a half an hour, whatever the typical amount is. Yeah. Absolutely. And if you have any issues, I'm your man.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
I heard a story or a report on NPR just yesterday about, I think it was Minnesota, no, it was Michigan. They're doing roadways that charge cars as they're driving.
Yes, it's really cool.
It sounded amazing.
Induction charging, yeah.
Is that not a thing?
It's a thing, but not a thing here yet. So it's still being tested. We are working with Coda in a similar vein they have electric buses, and some of these bigger vehicles need a lot of charge time, right? A lot of juice to get charged up. But they're working on almost like ski rails on top of the bus that does DC fast charging, but for buses. And it can charge the bus in a 1% battery life every minute. So that may not be something that you can have long dwell time, but if you have strategically placed fast chargers, you can make it happen.
Yeah, they were talking about like parking lots that have that. Same thing. She said it was like you put your cell phone on a pad. It's
Yes.
the same kind of technology, and then parking lot, so you park and your car is charging.
We also looked at that for canopies over parking lots to see if we can make that work. Yeah.
Do you want to talk at all about 3 Cs and a D anymore detail or?
The passenger rail?
Yeah.
Yes. So there are 2 corridors. We are on the Chicago to Pittsburgh line. There's still more analysis that has to happen, but we're hoping that it can get you there in about 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 45 minutes on the current track. Now that's dependent on upgrading the track. So that is very exciting, but there's going to be, honestly, might be like 10 years away, not to be a buzzkill.
So by the time we need it.
Yeah, by the time we need it. The reason why is each segment has to have the grades separated for the rail to happen. So there's a lot of at-grade crossings that need to be reconciled and turned into over-crossing. Yes.
On the Dublin connector, how many vans do you have and what's the use capacity of that? Is it maxed out or is it lots of open space?
It's getting filled up. So we have one city vehicle that is branded that you may have seen on the roadway. And then our operator is Share Mobility. They're a private operator. They have 2 transit vans that supplement that service. We like to use our city van because we get a better hourly rate based on our contract. And also we want to utilize our car assets, right? So they don't rot on the lot, so to speak.
Okay, well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited that we have such interesting projects going on in the city of Dublin. You know, are we gonna all use all of them? We will all use some of them. It's just exciting to see that we're one of the cities that's really going forward, and thank you for your passion for all of us to have these services. And our meeting next week again will be, all of our facilitators working with you on a workshop with the member survey, and we're excited to have everyone's input, and I hope you all be there next week. Let me give a closing quote here. We should look at Rotary Foundation as being not something for today or tomorrow, but think in terms of the years and generations to come. Rotary is a movement for the centuries. With that, have a great week.